disgrace. Well, I will do something. I'm a member of Parliament. This is an absolute disgrace.
Yeah.
What I think happened, because I got a briefing from a minister.
He's claiming that he was briefed on this by a minister. Who was that? Who was briefing him on something that they weren't there for? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Next few days, I am going to walk around London with a pint of milk on my person, because that pint will represent my protest. And there may be others who will choose to walk around London with a pint of milk on their person as well. But you see, the point is, Madam Deputy Speaker, these people can project what they like, what concern they have onto their pint of milk. And as I said, for the next few days, I will have that pint on me. It will be of symbolic importance to me.
The emoji is described by Google as symbolising a member of the alt-right and white nationalist. This isn't just an innocuous use of the milk symbol. This is a dog whistle to people with far-right ideologies, people who are in the know. It's like, you're my guy. Here's this guy with the, I think that's called the Sonnenrad, a Nazi symbol. In this context, milk becomes a prop to fight a front in the culture war. The COVID restrictions in the UK come on top of a longer lead-up to Britain's exit from the European Union, a move that was significantly influenced by ethnocentrist imperialist sentiments about Great Britain and the rest of the world. MP Walker's choice of milk for his personal protest is quite telling. COVID restrictions, like EU restrictions, are interpreted by some British nationalists to be threats to their freedom. MP Walker's pint of milk seems to symbolise a system of oppression and British entitlement now under threat, she says.
Because not all deaths are equal.
I'm a neo-reactionary absolutist. I believe in a absolute world order, organised in a particular way.
When you're looking at a government is a corporation that owns a country. It just is. It's the same thing.
I'm Peter Thiel. I support people who are building new things. I'm not a politician, but neither is Donald Trump. And it's time to rebuild America.
Anything we can do to help this go along, and we're going to be there for you. And you'll call my people, you'll call me. It doesn't make any difference. We have no formal chain of command.
You may recognise this video before because I included it in my Silent Vigil documentary. And I included it for the reason that it highlights the network that already existed 5 or 6 months before the vigil happened. But I didn't really realise the significance of this video to other events that happened around the same time. I spent like 2-3 weeks non-stop reviewing footage of the vigil, working out what happened, and then editing it all together. I basically switched myself off to the world for like 2 or 3 weeks to do that. I wasn't aware of the follow-up from Charles Walker when he got involved in this event here.
Leave me alone!
There's Sam English from Subject Access. This would have been one of his first videos. This is a 17-year-old kid who has been arrested recently for his involvement in the Nick Watt harassment on Whitehall outside Downing Street.
Sounds illegal. How can it be legal to lock people in their houses without judge, jury and execution?
Look how many photojournalists there are for such a small protest. So here, the police almost have her trapped. They're desperately trying to get her banner off her. Keep an eye on this blonde woman. She's trying to take that banner off her. And now she's been forced through the police. Like, why would that police officer there in white do that? She takes it. The police take it off her. They take her and put her against the fence. We'll just pause it here for a second because you can see this guy here. Oh, him there. That's Steve from Speaker's Corner. He was at the vigil. His friend here, also at the vigil. So she was getting a bit argy-bargy with the police there. Let's go back and just double check. In fact, I think you see her smile there as she fucks it up. Maybe not. But then she's starting to like wrestle with the police here. Like, have you ever seen such a small protest with so many people with cameras? So then they have the woman against the fence. She looks very calm. And I guess they're waiting for the police van. But then what happens next is something that I didn't catch.
What's she done? How many of them were there? Two of them? One of them? One. You're arresting your lady demonstrating right to protest.
Here you can see that she's using the old Extinction Rebellion tactic of flopping like a fish, so it makes it really difficult for the police to get her in the van. So she knows what she's doing. She's playing the victim in front of an MP who can then use her elderly entitlement to break the law as much as she wants. Police don't have to follow legal orders, you'll hear him say.
This is a disgrace. Well, I will do something. I'm a member of Parliament. This is an absolute disgrace. Yeah. This is a disgrace. Yeah. She's an old lady. You don't need to obey illegal orders as police officers.
Really?
You must have mothers. What an outrage. What a disgrace.
This is just faux outrage, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. That's what's going on. That's what's going on.
It doesn't matter what group she's on. She has a fundamental right to protest.
Freedom.
You're arresting her.
She protects people's freedom. Get me?
We need to talk about this in Parliament, don't we?
It will be talked about in Parliament. Say, who is this?
There you go. He gets it suggested. We need to talk about this in Parliament, don't we? By one of the protesters.
Lady, and how old is she?
Are you ready for what you started then?
She's in her 60s. Yeah, she's in that group, but I didn't see.
She's in her 60s, I think I heard there. Hold on.
We need to talk about this in Parliament, don't we?
It will be talked about in Parliament. Say, who is this lady and how old is
Are
she?
you ready for what you started then?
She's in her 60s.
Yeah,
She's in that group, but I didn't see.
So yeah, she's in her 60s and they make out that she's 72 years old.
Suddenly find out how old she is, let me know who she is, and I'll raise it in Parliament, yeah? Email me who she is, what she's allegedly done, and email it to Charles Walker.
So he did end up talking about that in Parliament.
I have just witnessed an elderly lady peacefully protesting with a handful of other people be arrested and carried spread eagle to a police van just outside the precinct of the House of Commons. This is a disgrace.
Was he this disgraced by other protests that have ended in old people getting arrested? I don't think so. Let me just make something clear. I'm not against the rights for people to protest, but these Nazis aren't protesting. What they're doing is creating fake news in an attempt to destroy democracy, to fill everybody's heads with such confusion that no one can make any sense of it, and it just switches people off to, well, whatever, I don't care. After he made his speech, he went on to talk radio, and we learned that he was actually watching from the window.
Just happened, of course, to be walking past when this was happening.
No, I didn't. No.
You went out, did you, to see what they were protesting about?
I was watching it from a window, and there was this old lady by the railing.
Okay.
She was talking to the police, and a police van turned up, and I said, "Oh my lord," to a colleague, "they're going to arrest this old woman." Then I went down, and by that stage, she was being carried off.
Was she, I mean, I'm just trying to imagine what else might have been going on, Charles. I mean, is it possible that she was asked to move on and didn't, and then after...
She was asked to move on. She's 72 years old, though. She's asked to move on. She was having a little peaceful protest, a handful of people having a peaceful protest. They were posing no risk to anyone whatsoever.
So why her and not the others?
I can't believe that my government has introduced such a restrictive and repressive law.
Well, I understand you can protest as long as you've got all your right ducks in a row, isn't that right?
Yeah, which is basically banning protests. You've got to fill out forms. Nobody should have to fill out a form. You want to have a protest today, get on the street and have a protest.
Yeah, we've got a pandemic going on, though, Charles. That's the problem, isn't it? That's the reason for this emergency legislation, as we mentioned, because of what's happening to our country and the world. Specifically, what was she arrested for? Because they usually have to
She was arrested for breaking the coronavirus protests regulation. So she was having an illegal protest.
Yeah, I'm just trying to work out what was going on in the minds of the police.
What I think happened, because I got a briefing from a minister.
What he thinks happened, because he got a briefing from a minister, if he was there, he would have had a better idea of what happened than any other MPs. But he's claiming that he was briefed on this by a minister. Who was that? Who was briefing him on something that they weren't there for? That doesn't make any sense to me.
I think this is what happened. This is what was relayed back to me. 20 people having a protest. I'm not really interested in what they were protesting about. Perfectly entitled to have a protest.
Apparently he's not interested in what they were protesting about. But let's get on to the title of the video. After the vigil, 25th of March, Charles Walker does another speech and he talks about a protest that he's going to do. Let's see what this is all about, shall we?
But tonight, or this afternoon, I'm not here to talk about AIDS, Madam Deputy Speaker. I want to talk about milk. Because in the remaining days of this lockdown, I am going to allow myself an act of defiance. My own protest that others may join me in. I am going to protest about the price of milk, Madam Deputy Speaker. Now, I'm not sure whether I think the price is too high or the price is too low. I shall come to that decision later.
So, let me get this straight. He's having a protest about the price of milk, but he doesn't know whether the price is too high or too low. What kind of protest is that? Let's see what else he's got to say.
For the next few days, I am going to walk around London with a pint of milk on my person, because that pint will represent my protest. And there may be others who will choose to walk around London with a pint of milk on their person as well. But, Madam Deputy Speaker, there might even be people with their pint of milk quietly protesting that the route out of lockdown is too slow, or perhaps even too fast. You see, the point is, Madam Deputy Speaker, these people can project what they like, what concern they have, onto their pint of milk.
They can project whatever concern they like onto that pint of milk. Remember that phrase.
Now, Madam Deputy Speaker, my protest, as I said, will be about none of those things. It will simply be about the price of milk. And as I said, for the next few days, I will have that pint on me. It will be of symbolic importance to me. And at the end of...
Symbolic importance. So what I hear when I hear phrases like that, symbols, is dog whistles. So I looked into this and there was other people joining in his protest. Here's Lawrence Fox with a couple of pints of milk. Here's Richard Tice with a pint of milk. They both run political parties now. This guy is a guy called Brian Stovall. There's Brian Stovall right there, stood next to Paul Golding.
What's it like to be a fascist cunt?
Gavin Malone, and this guy who was also at the event that we just watched. The far right are picking up this milk protest. Is there anything more to this? Well, Lawrence Fox also used a pint of milk on his Twitter account. When the Metro questioned about why he has a glass of milk next to his name on Twitter, the actor claimed to be unaware that the emoji is described by Google as symbolising a member of the alt-right and white nationalist. He says his use of the icon, which remained on his social media profile after metro.co.uk made him aware of its links to the far right, was supposed to be a reference to the milk protest in Parliament by Tory MP Sir Charles Walker, a fellow lockdown skeptic. Mr. Fox, who describes Mayor Sadiq Khan as hard left, added that he did not know who the alt-right are before condemning any extreme political ideology. So he doesn't know what the alt-right is, so he doesn't know that he's using their symbols. And when he's told about the fact that he's using far-right symbols, he doesn't remove it from his social media profile. Look who else uses milk on their Twitter profiles. Richard Spencer, Baked Alaska, also uses the milk on his Twitter. Baked Alaska was at the insurrection. This isn't just an innocuous use of the milk symbol. This is a dog whistle to people with far-right ideologies, people who are in the know. It's like, you're my guy. Wink, wink, nod, nod. How can we make some sense of what's going on here? Why do they use milk as a symbol? Is it purely because it's white? Well, no, it's not purely because it's white. There's something more to it. Milk, as a symbol of white supremacy, has also entered the Twitterverse. In early 2017, it replaced Pepe the Frog as the newest emoji symbolizing white supremacy. Infamous white supremacist Richard Spencer, president of the white nationalist think tank National Policy Institute, and Tim Treadstone, the extreme right-wing social media personality who goes by the name of Baked Alaska, both added milk symbols to their Twitter profiles. If we go back to Richard Spencer, I'm very tolerant, lactose tolerant. What does he mean by that? Well, milk is the new creamy symbol of white racial purity in Donald Trump's America. Basically, what happened here is Shia LaBeouf, the actor, however you say his name, Boof, whatever, he set up this art installation where there's just a camera on the wall, and above it, it says, "They will not divide us." It was supposed to be for people to go to this camera, which was being live streamed to the internet, and they could just say whatever they want, do whatever they want. And what happened was a load of white nationalists turned up with gallons of milk, and they just drank. They drank it and drank it and drank it. Here you can see the art installation here. Neo-Nazis and trolls have descended repeatedly on LaBeouf's art installation, transforming it from a project for unity into a channel for hate. Broadcasting 24/7 for the next 4 years, the New York Police Department has vowed to keep things safe after neo-Nazis and trolls first showed up to cause trouble at LaBeouf's installation. But that hasn't stopped a small legion of white supremacists from regularly descending on the live stream to hold parties, drink milk, and promote their other media channels. And it doesn't appear as if LaBeouf or the museum hosting the live stream feed plan on doing anything about it. So here we are with all the pictures. Here's this guy with the, I think that's called the Sonnenrad, a Nazi symbol. And here's more of them. And here's another example of the madness that is milk and Nazism. It's not a new relationship. Instead, it dates back approximately 100 years. In the 1920s, a pamphlet from the US National Dairy Council explained the people who have used liberal amounts of milk in its products, meaning white people, are progressive in science and every activity of the human intellect. Similarly, in 1933, History of Agriculture of the State of New York declared, "A casual look at the races of people seems to show that those using much milk are the strongest physically and mentally, and the most enduring of the people of the world. Of all races, the Aryans seem to have been the heaviest drinkers of milk and the greatest users of butter and cheese, a fact that may in part account for the quick and high development of this division of human beings." There is, in fact, a biological basis for Richard Spencer's Twitter boast that he is very... So when I mentioned the very tolerant, lactose tolerant, this is what they're getting at. While most of the world cannot comfortably digest milk, a portion of the white population, originating from cold Scandinavian countries where drinking other species' milk was a survival tool, can digest it with ease. However, lactose intolerance is not the worst of milk's harms. Research links milk consumption to a host of serious health problems, including cancer and heart disease. There are significant racial disparities in these milk-related illnesses, with groups including African Americans, Latinos, Native Americans, and Native Hawaiians suffering the worst effects. Only 1/3 of people produce the lactase enzyme during adulthood, which enables them to drink milk. So you can see if it's dark blue, over 90% of the population can drink milk. If it's white, less than 10% can. So you can see that North Europe, most of the people there can drink milk. However, places like south of Africa are unable to drink milk. Similarly, Thailand and East Asia and Australia is kind of like in the middle. But you do get pockets of Africa and the Middle East that can drink milk. So it's not like a one-size-fits-all policy, but in general, white people are more able to drink milk because they're lactose tolerant, and non-white people in general are lactose intolerant, so they can have some serious health effects from drinking milk. How does that affect a multicultural society when we produce milk and we give milk to like kids at schools and things? Let's read on. Nonetheless, the US Farm Bill continues to subsidize the dairy industry, resulting in a surplus of milk. In turn, the Departments of Health and Human Services and Agriculture urge individuals to consume daily portions of milk products in the federal dietary guidelines. The USDA also disposes of the surplus through its nutrition programs. It distributes milk in the form of free formula to mothers in the WIC, Assistance to Women and Children program, and to public school students who qualify for free lunches. In both these programs, people of color are disproportionately represented. So people of color are less likely to be lactose tolerant, yet they're still being provided milk disproportionately because they disproportionately qualify for these programs that are detrimental to their health. The USDA has also partnered with fast food companies to create products with higher amounts of cheese, such as Domino's American Legends, 7 Cheese Pizza Line, and Taco Bell's Quesalupa. The USDA conceived of and promoted these products, launching them through expensive and coveted Super Bowl advertising spots. Although white people eat more fast food overall, people living in poor urban communities of color disproportionately consume fast food in their diets. The decision to introduce more milk into fast food products, therefore, has a disparate impact on the health of communities of color. These communities are far removed from federal food policy making, with little to no access to the political process, which is subject to regulatory capture. Widespread belief in personal responsibility for health compounds the problem by making regulatory reform appear irrelevant or futile. The healthism paradigm insists that health is a matter of good character, not structural determinants. Popular racial stereotypes cast African Americans and Latinos as fat and lazy, lacking the willpower necessary to ward off obesity and other food-related illnesses. These cultural myths mask the systemic inequalities that lead to racial health disparities and the fact that regulation could alter them. Both the government and the dairy industry thus stand to gain from these racial tropes. At this moment in history, both white supremacists and federal food policy in the United States are engaging in oppression through milk. So if we come back to Charles Walker, in this context, milk becomes a prop to fight a front in the culture war. Dr. Corey Wren, socialist at the University of Kent, elaborated on that. She explains, the COVID restrictions in the UK come on top of a longer lead-up to Britain's exit from the European Union, a move that was significantly influenced by ethnocentrist imperialist sentiments about Great Britain and the rest of the world. MP Walker's choice of milk for his personal protest is quite telling. COVID restrictions, like EU restrictions, are interpreted by some British nationalists to be threats to their freedom. MP Walker's pint of milk seems to symbolise a system of oppression and British entitlement now under threat, she says.
Because not all deaths are equal.
I'm a neo-reactionary absolutist. I believe in a absolute world order, organised in a particular way.
When you're looking at a government is a corporation that owns a country. It just is. It's the same thing.
I'm Peter Thiel. I support people who are building new things. I'm not a politician, but neither is Donald Trump. And it's time to rebuild America.
Anything we can do to help this go along, and we're going to be there for you. And you'll call my people, you'll call me. It doesn't make any difference. We have no formal chain of command.